So the other day, I'm reading the book of Daniel, and I'm reading chapter 3, where you find the story of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, that they get thrown into the fire by King Nebuchadnezzar because they won't worship this great golden statue that he made. And the part that the Lord highlighted to me was the shift in the king's attitude, his heart towards the Lord, right? So he builds this great statue, tells everybody, when you hear the music, bow down and worship to this thing. There's a few dudes that are non-Jews that they tell on Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego because they won't do it. So then the king comes and he's like upset at them because he's like, he likes them. And he's like, why are you guys not doing this? So then in verse 15, he says, now if you are ready, when you hear the sound of the horn, pipe, lyre, trigon, harp, bagpipe, and every kind of music, to fall down and worship the image that I have made, well and good. But if you do not worship, you shall immediately be cast into a burning fiery furnace. And who is the God who will deliver you out of my hands? So you see right here, he doesn't care about the Lord. He doesn't care about Yahweh, the God of the Israelites. Because remember, they have all been overtaken, and the Jews here in Babylon, they're exiles. They're servants. They're not in their native land anymore, in their homeland anymore. This guy destroyed their land. So he's like, I don't care about your God. Like, I destroyed your land. So they tell him, like, we're not going to do it. Like, our Lord is going to save us. And then they say, but even if he doesn't, we're still going to not bow down to your God, to your idol. So he gets mad, sets the furnace up, throws them in there. He binds them up and has them thrown in there. Then he realizes that they're not dead. He sees that they're in there, right? It says, verse 25, he answered and said, but I see 4 men unbound walking in the midst of the fire, and they are not hurt. And the appearance of the 4th is like a son of the gods. So he saw the angel of the Lord in there with Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And then verse 26 is where you start to see the shift in how he views the Lord. Then Nebuchadnezzar came near to the door of the burning fiery furnace. He declared, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, servants of the Most High God, come out and come here. Then Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego came out from the fire. And everybody saw that they weren't burned, that like not even their hairs were singed, like nothing. They were perfectly fine, right? And then verse 28 says, Nebuchadnezzar answered and said, blessed be the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who has sent his angel and delivered his servants who trusted in him and set aside the king's command and yielded up their bodies rather than serve and worship any God except their own God. Verse 29, therefore I make a decree. Any people, nation, or language that speaks anything against the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego shall be torn limb from limb and their houses laid in ruins. For there is no other God who was able to rescue in this way. Then the king promoted Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in the province of Babylon. And I was just amazed at how, if you think about the shift in the king's heart, in the way he honored the Lord after this. Like, the reason why it happened was because Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego had to go through the fire. Had they bowed down and worshiped this thing, Nebuchadnezzar would have not honored the Lord the way he did later on. It took them going through the fire and the Lord showing up for those around to glorify the Lord, right? So the Lord was showing that to me, how that's the case in our own lives. You know, a lot of times we want to step out of the issues that we're in, or we want to escape the problems and the trauma or the trial, the whatever it is, right? Because life goes on. Like, just because we're saved, just because we follow Jesus, it doesn't mean that life isn't going to throw things at us and that we're just going to have this perfect life. The difference is that the Lord is always with us, right? Just like with Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, the Lord was with them. He never said, I'm just going to not let you go in the fire. It actually took them going into the fire and seeing the power of the Lord save them that changed the heart of the man who threw them in there. You know, so sometimes it takes us going through the hardship and the Lord coming through for us, for those around us to recognize who the Lord is, for God to get the glory. It's not about us, right? But in the process, they got promoted, right? Like they got blessed as well. But all the glory went to God, right? So I guess this is a little bit of encouragement. You know, if you're going through a hard situation that you just feel beaten down, you feel like there is no escape, you just feel worn out, whatever it may be, you can feel like you're going through the fire and there's no escape. You may feel hopeless and all of that. But when you trust in the Lord, he's going to come through for you, and you're going to have this peace that surpasses understanding, as the word says. And because of that, those around you, specifically those that are not saved, are going to recognize, like, man, how is this person surviving this? What does this person have that I don't have? I would have not survived this. How are they going through this and still worshiping God? How are they going through this and yet still they're okay? I would have given up months ago. I would have given up when this and that happened, what happened to them. And you start to see that it is because we go through these hard times and the Lord walks with us through it that he gets the glory. And those around us see God's glory in our lives. But it takes going through that sometimes. Sometimes we have to go through the fire, right? We talk about how fire purifies and all of this, and yes, that is true. But the fire that we go through as believers also serves as an opportunity for us to, one, walk in faith with the Lord, put our faith in him. Two, for him to show up in power. And three, for the world around us to see God's glory, to see his power, and to give him the honor. I hope that's encouraging. I hope you guys can see that. You know, the king was the great, powerful king of all of Babylon. These guys had to be strong enough to go against what this guy was demanding and take the punishment. There was no escape. So sometimes for us, there is no escape. But that doesn't mean that there isn't great blessing on the other side and great victory through this punishment or the furnace, so to speak. So don't give up and give God the glory and put your faith in him, and he's going to show up in mighty ways in your life and reveal himself to those around you, to those in your life. So I hope this blessed you guys. If you guys liked the video, don't forget to like and share and subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next one.